This is one of the stories I wrote for my great-granddaughter Ruby. It's called Ruby's Adventure, Trapped Inside the Pyramid. In this story, Ruby is in Egypt. She's going by a pyramid when she sees an open door. Although there is a sign saying, "Do not enter," she still goes inside. And this is what happens when she's inside the pyramid. There was a loud crashing sound as the door to the pyramid slammed to behind Ruby. She was trapped inside the pyramid. It was her own fault. She had ignored the warning at the door, "Do not enter, danger." Ruby looked around the room. It was damp and had a very musty smell. On the walls there were flaming torches, and their flickering flames cast frightening shadows all around. Her heart was pounding, and she was very, very scared. Ruby looked desperately around, searching for a way out. Then she saw 4 drawings on the wall. One was a cat. She recognized this. It was an Egyptian cat. Another was a dog. Ruby had not seen this before, but could see it was a dog. The third drawing was a Sphinx. She had seen this in several monuments around the city and knew it was a Sphinx. The last one was a god. Ruby knew it was a god, but she didn't know his name because the Egyptians had several gods. There was also a message on the wall, but Ruby couldn't understand it. It was drawn in ancient hieroglyphics. Then she remembered that she had a guidebook. She had a copy of the hieroglyphics in it. Hastily, Ruby took out the copy of the code and looked at the first letter. It looked like a snake and could be either an F or a V. When she looked closer, she saw it was an F. Quickly she deciphered the rest of the message. It said, "Follow cat, not dog. Push Sphinx, not God." She wished she had a pencil and paper so she could write the message down, but tried to memorize it. Ruby couldn't go back, so she moved tentatively forward and saw 2 tunnels. But which one should she take? There was some sort of drawing at the entrance to each tunnel, and Ruby started forward to have a look. Suddenly she heard thudding sounds. Was it a mummy? The sound terrified Ruby, and she rushed headlong into one of the tunnels without looking at the drawing. She had only gone a short distance when she came up against a blank wall. What could she do? On the wall, Ruby saw several drawings. One was of an Egyptian god. She tried to remember the message. Did it say to push the god? Ruby wasn't sure, but decided to take a chance and pushed against the drawing. A stone in the wall moved backwards, but at the same time several stones at the side fell to the ground, and hundreds of spiders and scorpions scurried to the floor. Horrified at the sight of these, Ruby screamed, turned round and ran back to the entrance. At the entrance she looked closely at the drawing. It was a dog. Ruby remembered the message now, not the dog. She had picked the wrong entrance. Frantically she looked at the drawing at the other tunnel. It was a cat. Ruby remembered that the message said to follow the cat. This must be the way out. She ran into the tunnel, but once again came up against a stone wall. Then she felt a stone beneath her foot with a clicking sound. Very slowly she lifted up her foot and heaved a sigh of relief when nothing happened. But then there was a noise of stones moving. Ruby turned to look behind her and saw that a large stone slab had slid down to block the tunnel. She couldn't go back. Then Ruby heard a low rumbling noise, and to her horror she saw that the 2 sides were slowly closing in on her. She would be crushed. She tried to remember the message. What was it? Then she remembered it said, "Push the Sphinx." Frantically, she searched the drawings on the wall for a drawing of a Sphinx. There it was. The walls were getting closer and closer. Ruby closed her eyes and pushed the drawing of the Sphinx, hoping there would be no spiders or scorpions. To her relief, the wall stopped moving and a door slid up in front of her. It was a way out. Ruby rushed through the opening and into the fresh air. She was back outside the pyramid. "Wow," she thought, "that was terrifying. I shouldn't have ignored the warnings. I'll be more careful in future." Ruby was dying to tell all her friends about the adventure. But would they believe her? I mean, would you?